Welcome to my card thoughts today. Today I want to talk to you about the most overpowered and underrated benefit that a lot of cards used to have, but now so many have dropped them. And it's made a few of the cards that are still out there, or maybe some that are left over if you already applied for them in the past, but can't any longer be gotten by people in the future. It's made them very, very powerful. So I've had a lot of business work travel lately, and I've been in a number of airports, Dallas and out in California in some airports. And my most recent one I traveled through was this Seattle, the SeaTac International Airport in Seattle-Tacoma. And because of the circumstances of my business travel, I had to arrive at the airport rather early. I mean, like 5 hours before my flight, because I was flying through the night to come back. And so I thought, well, I have access to like a lot of lounges here. Airport lounge for the airline I was flying Delta that day. American Express Centurion, there's a really good one in the Seattle airport. So I thought, well, I could do that one. There's at least one Priority Pass. There's a club there. I went over and kind of tried to check out that one. And then, of course, there's other priority passes and things like that. So I thought, well, I'm going to go and I'll just spend some time, work a little bit in the lounges, get something to eat, and just kind of relax before my flight. Maybe even find a real comfortable recliner and take a little nap. So I went over, first of all, to the club because I don't know, I'm kind of weird about this, but I have a whole lot of accesses to a lot of different lounges through different cards, both Priority Pass, also airlines with a couple different airlines, and Centurion and Escape and all that stuff. So I try to sometimes do a little lounge hopping, see some of them have some food I like better than others and maybe more comfortable seats. Maybe one's more crowded than the other. And so I can kind of be more to myself in some than the more crowded ones. So I typically will try to, if I have a long layover or whatever, I'll jump around from different lounges. So I went over, first of all, and was going to go to the club. And I walked in. That's the club at Seattle. That's the one that is run by Priority Pass. So I walk over there. I present my Priority Pass access digitally on my phone. And the lady tells me, well, you're 5 hours before your flight. You can't come in until it's 3 hours before your flight. So I go and I said, all right, well, whatever. And so I go and I started looking, and pretty much every lounge I could go to had the 3 hour restriction. So Centurion Lounge, 3 hours before your flight. Delta Sky Club, 3 hours before your flight. So I thought, what am I going to do? I mean, I don't want to be sitting out here in the terminal jockeying for a seat. So I thought, oh, Priority Pass. So I looked on the app, and sure enough, there's like 3, 4, 5 restaurants that participate in the Priority Pass program. Now, I have the Old City Prestige card, and that's the Priority Pass I use. And it's one of very, very few that still have the restaurant access. Now, let me tell you, that was really, really cool because I actually went to 2 of them in the couple hours I had before I could get into a lounge. And then I went into the Delta Sky Club before I got on my flight. And those places were great. I mean, some of them were kind of like you order at the counter and take it to go type thing. And I go through and I've used these before, but usually at sit-down restaurants. My favorite is when I would fly in United all the time through Houston, I would go to Landry's and get some good seafood. My wife and I would go through there, and I think we got $28 each, $56, which actually gets you quite a bit of food. But I haven't used it in a while. So these are kind of like grab-and-go kind of places. And, well, one of them was. The other one was a sit-down place. So I go through the grab-and-go place. I get $28 worth of food. And what's really cool is if somebody else had been in line with me, I would have said, hey, I'll just get whatever they're getting up to $28 too, because you get a free guest. And so you could get $56 worth of food. And then I went to the other one and got my $28. And so I got $56 worth of free food while I'm waiting to get into a lounge. And as far as I know, if there had been 10 restaurants in that airport, and I don't know if any of them have 10. I know San Francisco has a few. Seattle, like I said, has a few. But if there had been 10, I think I could have went to all 10 and, gotten like $280 worth of stuff. And that, for a maximizer like myself, that's just pretty awesome. So I was like, wow, this is a benefit out of this world. And it got me thinking about the fact that this Priority Pass restaurant deal, especially for people who live near an airport that has maybe some of those restaurants and doesn't have good lounge access or good lounges that they can get into, wow, this would be an absolute deal breaker. And, we know that American Express hasn't had that for a long time. Capital One had it for a while. They dumped it on first their regular card, the X card, and then also the X Business eventually. Although the X Business, if you got in before, I think, May of this year, it still retroactively works for you. But then Chase, the big hammer dropped, and Chase stopped supporting it with Sapphire Reserve and the Ritz-Carlton and all of that. And so now there are very, very few credit cards that offer Priority Pass restaurants. As far as I know, there are some, like a UMD or something like that. There's one of those that's kind of nobody ever talks about. There's also the U.S. Bank cards still offer it. So the Altitude Reserve, I think you get limited uses, but it still offers it. And those limited uses would be pretty good to supplement regular Priority Pass when you can, on those times, like that unique situation of being 5 hours early, when you can't go into the lounges, then, well, you'd have those restaurants. And then when we look at other issuers, you've got some like Bank of America, their top card. I think it still gives access to it. And then my old Citi Prestige card, which it's amazing to me that Citi doesn't nerf that thing, that doesn't, kind of devalue some of the things it does, because it still gives you the 2 free nights a year. If you buy 4 nights, you get the 4th free through their portal. And I mean, that can be exponential value. It's kind of like we always talk about, the Hilton certificates are worth really any Hilton hotel. Well, that Citi Prestige 4th night free, there's really no upper dollar limit that I know of on that. So that's really good. And then you get the $250 travel credit. And then you get the Priority Pass that is just this best Priority Pass. So I mean, I consider that my number one most valuable card. I'm not going to get rid of it. But, I got thinking, I think this isn't talked about enough, because that is a powerful benefit. And there's some airports have a lot of those restaurants, and that is a lot of value in regard to how much money worth of stuff you can get, especially if you're a regular business traveler, you fly all the time. Wow. And I kind of expected, I didn't know what to anticipate, because I said to both of them at both of these Priority Pass restaurants I went to, I said, well, you probably don't see many of these anymore. And they said, well, we still see a few, but not since Chase stopped doing it. We don't see near as many. But they didn't give me any trouble. They knew how to do it. It was quick. It was fast. They just give you something, say, whatever you order, it's $28 off. And that easy. So I'm curious what you think about this. I really like that. I used to use it a lot when I flew through Houston. I haven't used it as much in recent years, but it was really nice to have on this trip with this unique situation of having to be there early. So I'm curious what you think about it. Let me know if you've had it in the past and if you're missing it now, if it dropped off of your card, or if you still have one of the cards that gives it. Let me know if you're finding great value from that. But I think that a premium card, if it wanted to have something to distinguish itself from the rest of the market, to draw business to it from the rest of the market and say, our card is just, when it comes to Priority Pass, we got the best one that there is. I think adding that, keeping that on there, I don't know how financially viable it is for the companies. Citi must just not care because they just don't have that many prestige card holders out there. But wow, what a benefit it is. Well, let me know what you think. We'll see you here next time.